Live streaming is on.
The LATAM-CHINA Innovation Day is a space that brings together experts, entrepreneurs, and investors who promote the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems in Asia and Latin America. That promotes the research, innovation, and internationalization, core elements of the Tec de Monterrey's 2030 strategy. Through the hub, the partners create opportunities for cooperation with the exchange of human talent and the acceleration of scientific startups, generating innovation projects for the benefit of the countries involved. The LATAM-CHINA Innovation Day invites you to meet the collaborative ecosystems between universities, governments, society, districts, and regions from different countries, seeking to promote the exchange and development of knowledge economies based on research and technology entrepreneurship, by attracting, training, and supporting human talent. Be part of the conference Innovation, Science, and Technology Cooperations, the sessions, startup pitches, and the panels Innovation Development Ecosystems for Project in LATAM, Development of Innovation Ecosystems, Policies for Developing Technological Ecosystems in China, Options to Finance Startups and Place Them in the World's Largest Market, Results of the Mexico-China Chamber of Commerce Diploma, and One Belt, One Road initiative in the development of technological cooperation. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the LATAM-CHINA Innovation Day.
Ready, Alfonso.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here today. We are starting week 2 of the Latin America China Innovation, well, we call it Innovation Day, but it's actually a 2-week event. So on the first week, we had our opening ceremony and a 2-day pitch showing event where we showed projects, technology-based projects coming from Mexico and the rest of Latin America, Peru, Chile, Colombia, and showed it to local Chinese companies, entrepreneurs, VCs, and government. This is part of what we have in this larger picture that we have here in the iHub Tech, which we call it here in the Mexico-China Center, which probably will later become the Latin America China Center. This is an effort to bring together China and countries of Latin America to jointly develop science and technology-based projects for the 21st century. We started this effort last year. Physically, we opened the office last year. We have been successful already with a few projects, which are both already started last year and ongoing for this year. We had a little bit of delay because of the current coronavirus crisis, but there's a lot of interest that we have seen both sides, both from the Chinese government and VCs and companies, and from the side of Latin American entrepreneurs and scientists. So this is a project that is a forward-looking, a futuristic project, and we hope that this kind of events will bring together and spread the word. I want to thank the Zhejiang Ministry of Commerce for helping us organize this event and make it more widely known here in the province. The Hangzhou Association of Science and Technology, who's also going to help us promote it. The Zhejiang University TTO, Technology Transfer Office, which is called IPX. And all the people that have joined us, both offline and online. Actually, the event that we had last week already has 4 requirements of information for the projects that we started to show. There were 14 projects. Already 5 of them have requirements of more information. So we're very happy for what we're doing. We are promoting science and scientists, technology-based projects that can be are focused on biotechnology, medicine, artificial intelligence and advanced engineering, which is basically science for the future. Now, today, we have several people joining us here in China and in Mexico and Latin America. I want to introduce our speakers today. First of all, Miss Patti Mora, my boss there in Mexico. She is the director of the Tec de Monterrey's Technology Transfer Office. Hello, Patti.
Hi, thank you, Alfonso.
Well, I also want to introduce Mr. Adrian Magendzo. He's a senior specialist at the Competitiveness, Technology and Innovation Division at the BID, the Inter-American Development Bank. Adrian, hello, welcome.
Your micro is off. You need to
Thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm very, very happy to participate in this event.
Thank you for your time. I also want to introduce Mr. Jamie Riggs. He's the managing director of ChileGlobal Venture, an investment firm in Chile. Jamie?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me today, too. Thank you.
Hi, hello. Thank you for your time. And finally, Mr. Marcos Rivas, general manager of CityGlobal Accelerator. Marco?
Marcos?
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Thank you for being here. There will be several officers and VC representatives joining us today. So far, we have Mr. Unitzal from the Zhejiang University IPX, the Technology Transfer Office of Zhejiang University, Mr. Zhao. I will be introducing more people later on as we have a small opening, but they'll be joining us from Tsinghua Delta, which is the investment branch of Tsinghua University. China First Generation, which is a local VC in Zhejiang. I need my glasses. Hangzhou Elite VC, which is a local club of investors in Hangzhou, which they have put together more than 82 local entrepreneurs and investors. And Ms. Weina Li who is a local entrepreneur. I will be introducing more people a little bit later on as they connect. So I want to give the word to Mr. Adrian, so we can start our discussion today. Adrian, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alfonso, and everyone. Hello from here. I'm in Washington D.C. So we have people from China, from Mexico, from Chile. I mean, this is really showing what is going on in these times with not only the pandemic, but I think the way things are gonna be done in the future, and this opens many opportunities for everyone in terms of businesses, in terms of opportunities, because it's easy now to communicate. It's easy to be online and talk to people from different countries. I wanted to share my screen a little bit, but I don't know how to do this. First time I use Jitsi, so if anyone can give me some guidance on how to share the screen, I will appreciate it. If not, I'll just say it. I'll just talk it. But it would be, I wanted to show some slides here.
En la parte de abajo izquierda, Adrián, hay una como computadorcita donde dice share your screen. In the left, down, share your screen, and you can in the application. On.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Patti. Thank you so much for your help. So just want to talk to you about a little bit about I'm not going to talk about Latin America in general. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Pacific Alliance and what have we been doing in terms of this alliance of countries in Latin America in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. Just to show you very quick, here are the 4 countries: Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Mexico, the countries that belong to the Pacific Alliance. And as you can see in here, you can see that all 4 countries, except for maybe Mexico, have had very, very important GDP growth in the last 20 years, 30 years. It's very, very interesting to see how these countries have been growing in terms of GDP. Of course, sometimes with more, sometimes less, and there are political issues that sometimes impede growth. But in general, these countries have been growing very fast. And we know that there is a correlation between high productivity and GDP growth. So in order to have GDP growth, growth of the economies in any country, productivity is essential. It's part of it. Like successful countries like Japan, China, Korea, and Portugal have had very high productivity rates for over 3 decades, which has led them to become either almost or become developed countries, developed economies. So GDP growth is essential for that purpose. And what drives productivity? Well, human capital, of course, physical infrastructure, demographics, good and stable business climates, but mostly important is technological innovation and the ability of countries to move up in the value chain. How countries are able to move up in the value chain determines productivity, determines how good the economy is doing, and growth and GDP growth. If we compare the 4 countries that I just mentioned with the United States, we'll find out that Chile is the size of the economy of Oregon, and Peru is the size of the economy of Nevada. Colombia is the size of the economy of Wisconsin, and Mexico is the size of the economy of New York. So we're talking about small countries here, in relative terms, of course. And you won't see China in this map because China is larger than any given state in the United States, but not the countries in Latin America, except for Brazil and Mexico. Other countries are rather small. Economies are very small. But let's see what happens if we join together these 4 countries now. If we join together these 4 countries, then what happens is that the number of people grows. Chile has 18 million people, and Peru has nearly 40 million people, 30 something. But if we put all these 4 countries together, we're talking about 220 million people. Now, this is a large number of people, and it becomes a large economy. In terms of the economy, the size of the economy of these 4 countries together, we're talking about the 8th economy of the world. It's the size of Germany. Now, this is very important. If we're able to coordinate economic activity of the 4 countries, we're going to come up that the size of this is the size of a large country in Europe, like Germany. It's 220 million people. It's nearly half today. It's nearly half of GDP of Latin America. The 4 countries have all negotiated almost all of tariffs to transport products and services between the countries. There are a lot of regulations that have been worked out in terms of investments. So the 4 countries can constitute like a free trade zone, and it's a large free trade zone. 50% of all the trade of Latin America is in these 4 countries, and the other 45, nearly 45 or 40% is going to be Brazil. The Pacific Alliance also has 49 observer countries, and China is one of them, that are looking to see what's going on with this alliance. It's a very, very practical, very pragmatic alliance, basically to be able to have freedom of movement of people, freedom of movement of capital, and freedom of movement of goods, where goods is nearly free within the 4 countries. So if you have a company that is in Peru, it's very easy to move goods in all the 4 countries, and it's the same for capital and same for people. So why do it together? Market size first. It's very important in innovation and entrepreneurship. It's very important to have large markets, because otherwise it's very difficult to justify investments that are required in innovation, right? If you have small markets, sometimes those innovations are actually very difficult to prosper because the markets are so small. So that's the first thing why China is so important in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship for these countries, because of the size of the market. Many times, and I've seen it myself. I've worked in the Chilean government for a long time, and I saw many times good innovation proposals and opportunities that did not go anywhere just because they were not able to confront large markets that will justify the investments. And it's very difficult for us sometimes to go out and to go into other markets like China or United States, Europe, etc. Mobility is because the countries are very close by, so it's very easy to move people, move goods, and move capitals, and move everything in these 4 countries. And that's very crucial in order to have available the best resources for innovation that are needed. So if there is a lab in Mexico, we can use that lab for an innovation that's being done in Chile or in Colombia, or if there is some scientist that it's needed for a company or an opportunity in other countries, it's very easy to move this. Also because of the cultural issues that we have, the same language, the same culture. It makes it easier. Specialization is another important aspect. So there are countries that are specialized, like Chile and Peru are very specialized in mining. Mexico and Colombia are very specialized in agro industry. So those knowledges can be shared between countries, right? So that's very important in terms of the 4 countries sharing knowledge and sharing areas or sectors where they're specialized, and also the sharing of policy. Governments can share policy between one another. Chile has done a lot in terms of innovation, but maybe it can share those experiences with other countries. So everything starts to fit in order for these countries to join in terms of economy. That's why the Pacific Alliance was created in the first place. Now, this is very new. It's 10 years. That has been less than 10 years actually. That has been going on. So we're just starting with this. There's some challenges, of course. We have regulation challenges between our countries, capacities for internationalization. That's where China comes in, very important. Consistency in policies, political cycles. Countries have elections. They're all democracies. They have elections and they change people and change institutions, which makes it's a very big challenge in order to maintain that going, regardless of all these changes that are happening. There's differences. Institutions are different. So there are many challenges, but on the other, there's strengths like a common language, proximity, affinity, cultural affinity. That's very important. We know each other. We know how to connect with each other. We have similar and social and economic challenges and a common history. So those are the strengths of the Pacific Alliance countries, and also the challenges that we have going forward. Now, the question is, how do we make the big leap, getting closer to development, to become developed economies? So what we have done, we understand that innovation is it's very important. So what we have actually done is to start working on building a common innovation story for the 4 countries, which is a big challenge. It takes a long time, but we have already started. We have the bank where I work has helped the 4 countries to create a series of networks that actually will make this a space where innovators and entrepreneurs can actually go from one country to the other one using whatever is there already in place in order to develop their businesses in different countries. So we have developed, we made it out, and you'll be hearing from the presidents of all these networks. We have Inversionistas AP, which is the investors investor network of the 4 countries. We have InnovaP, which is the innovation agency network of the 4 countries. This is a government network. We have AceleradorAP, which is the business accelerator network of the 4 countries. And the latest one that we have created, where Patty, that you know, is the president, is TransferenciaP, that is the technology transfer network of the 4 countries. And we have other institutions that we have created. We have worked on culture and mindset. We're working on crowdfunding. We're working on also we have an initiative to work on corporate innovation within the 4 countries. We are working on regulations in the 4 countries. So it's a series of things, but the main aspects of this is this network that we have created, where the 4 countries work together according to what they already have. Each country has, maybe Peru is starting with tech transfer offices, and Mexico is very much developing tech transfer offices. So Mexico will help Peru get up to speed, and the same for Chile and Colombia. And that's what we have been doing through this network. So what we do is we have on the left side, we have the four innovation agencies, and they cooperate with these networks. You see in the center there, it's a regional ecosystem that we're building. It's a very novel idea, because ecosystems are always built within countries or within regions of countries, but to build an ecosystem at a regional level is something that is very new. There's not much experience in the world doing that. And we felt at the bank that we needed to help the countries do this, because otherwise, because of the sizes, as we saw before, it will be very difficult for each country individually without cooperating to build the ecosystem. Now, the fact that we're doing this regional ecosystem, it's a big opportunity for large economies like the Chinese or the Americans, actually be able to get to the 4 countries through one channel, right? So the regional ecosystem is the channel for large economies actually to tap into the opportunities that are available. So if China is interested to understand what's happening with entrepreneurs in Latin America through the Pacific Alliance ecosystem, actually know what's happening in the 4 countries in one call, in one call. They're going to know what's happening, and that's the same for the investments industry, where Jamie is going to talk to you about that, etc. So thank you very much. I mean, I had the opportunity to show you what's going on in terms of how China can tap into Latin America without having to go onto individual countries, rather to go as in a regional sense through the Pacific Alliance entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. Now we're going to go to the panel where each one of the leaders of this network is going to explain what they're doing and how is this actually. How is his network able to tap into the Chinese networks in order to join efforts and accomplish the goal of setting up an innovation and entrepreneurship joint venture with China? So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Adrian. I'm starting to get some questions here through my phone. So I think I will leave them after everybody does their presentation, because I wish that everybody does do their put their point of view forward, so then I can make the questions. Hello?
Yes, I'm fine, great.
Okay, so next we have Mr. Jamie Riggs.
Hello. Should I just go into, we're going to go into Q&A now, or should I just present myself and talk about the venture capital industry in Latin America?
So maybe I should take the lead on the, okay. So I want to present, or would you like to present, Alfonso?
I can do it.
No,
Alfonso?
I think it's better, Adrian, if you introduce the questions in your side, in our side, and also Alfonso can complement with the questions in China.
Okay, so first of all, I want to introduce you to the leaders of these networks that I was talking to you about. First, we have Jamie Riggs. He's the leader or the president of the investors network of the 4 countries. It's called Inversionistas AP in Spanish. We have Marcos Rivas, who is the president and leader of the accelerator networks. There was a series of business accelerators and incubators in the 4 countries that are joint efforts together, and that's led by Marcos Rivas. And Patty Mora is the leader and president of the network of technology transfer offices in the 4 countries, and she also leads the tech transfer offices of Mexico. So welcome, guys. Great to have you all here. And I want to start with a general question, and you please answer accordingly. How do you see the innovation ecosystem of the Pacific Alliance, and in general, how do you see regional ecosystems, not only in Latin America, but in general, and how do you see that these ecosystems can actually help and promote innovation and entrepreneurship in Latin America? Patty, you want to start?
Yes, I would like to share my screen because I have some slides to explain that how we are going to. You see my screen? You can see my screen?
I see yes. it, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first, in order to clarify what an ecosystem is, I would like to bring as a reference the Global Innovation Index. Not by the rankings, because we need to understand the methodology and what it implies, because this methodology implies that innovation ecosystem exists in each country. So WIPO and Cornell University developed this ranking, and the most important of the ranking is that we need to understand that to connect the ecosystems, we need to take measures about the inputs and also about the outputs. And inputs, if we understand inputs, is all about the institutions, the political environment, as you can see in my presentation. Also the human capital and research, educations, the R&D development projects, the infrastructure, the market sophistication is about the credits, investments, also the knowledge workers. So if we understand that, as we need to try to connect and create these infrastructures or these inputs in order to generate outputs. But the most important, I think, in my understood and my knowledge, is to generate this kind of outputs. So we need to create, according to these methodologies, knowledge outputs as a knowledge creation, patents connected with the industry, and also not only international patents, also startups, technology-based startups that create new jobs, and also the creative outputs as an intangible assets. So the market of intangibles is one of the most important, so that we need to create as a network. So in the region, we have these statistics. This is the last rank of the Global Innovation Index that you can see in Latin America. The Pacific Alliances has two countries, Chile and Mexico, in the top two rankings as a Latin American in the Caribbean. So we need to support and push the other two countries as a Colombia and Peru to scale up in this ranking. So also I would like to regard the China. No, China is ranked in the top 15 global innovation index. But here you can see Chile, that is in the first place, is in the 54 ranked, Colombia 68, Costa Rica 56, Mexico 55, and Peru 76. So the most important is, like you explained on Adrian, what is the ecosystem or the technology transfer ecosystem? For me, as you explained very well, is the connections, the capabilities of connections that we have to create programs with the government agencies, the legal and regulatory framework, the IP attorneys, the universities, the venture capitals, the business angels, the crowdfunders, and all the actors, the host actors that comprehend this ecosystem is that I think the most important to advance in this ranked, in my opinion, is to connect, creating these kind of programs. And I think as a TransferenciaAP or Red de TransferenciaP as a network, most of the programs we are developing at this moment are focused in create these outputs with impacts, creating new programs with the innovation agencies supported by the Inter-American Development Bank, and also to create and push the creation of new technology-based startups, also to develop capabilities in our professionals of tech transfers. We create some diplomas or some workshops and trainings to support them in all these processes. And the most important also is to connect, in this case, with Inversionistas AP and also AceleradorAP, generating these pipelines of projects. So in terms of rankings, you can see the impact. For example, in USA, as a similar network as us, they generate in USA all more or less 1.3 trillion of dollars contributed to the US gross industrial outputs. Also more than 80,000 US patents applications, more than 400,000 invention disclosures, 11,000 startups formed, and more than 70% licenses that are promoted. So the idea in our ecosystems is to make this kind of impacts. Are some of the impacts that we have right now in Mexico. And we are working with TransferenciaP in the 4 countries to generate these kinds of indicators and statistics. We have some statistics I'm going to share in some minutes, one of the statistics and projects we have at this moment. But I would like to give move forward with Inversionistas AP or AceleradorAP to get their inputs.
Thank you so much, Patty. So the next thing I wanted to ask is to Patty and to Jamie and to Marcos, each one, what is the role of their network? What is the role of TransferenciaP? What is the role of AceleradorAP? And what is the role of Inversionistas AP in this ecosystem? So let's start with Jamie. Jamie, can you talk to us about I would like to know not only about Inversionistas AP, the network of investors, but also if you can tell us a little bit more about how is the venture capital industry in Latin America, what are the trends, and what are we seeing in the 4 countries of the Pacific Alliance? You're very much involved from your job in Fundación Chile in these areas, so we want to we want you to illuminate us on this, please.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks everyone for having me here today. So I've been in Latin America now. I moved to Santiago, Chile in 2013. Before that, I lived in California and I worked in the Bay Area in Palo Alto in this industry. And the reason I bring that up is because at that time when I moved to Chile, all of Latin America, the whole industry of venture capital was $425 million for the year 2013. That's how much capital was invested in venture capital. And I remember working with early stage startups in the Bay Area, and I had one company that year raised 100 million, so 25% of what was happening in Latin America. So very small. The great news is last year we ended 2019 at 4.6 billion in venture capital. So, which is what you want to see in a startup, is what's happened in the venture capital industry, where it's grown 10x over the last 6 years. So it's been quite a bit of growth in the industry. And so what's happened, the context of that is when I moved to the area or to the region in 2013, there's very little interest of international investors. That's a lot different today. Andreessen Horowitz, Excel, General Atlantic, Goldman Sachs, Jeff Bezos with his fund, the CEO of Amazon, Bezos Expeditions, they've all invested or invested multiple times in different entrepreneurs in Latin America. So it's pointing out one thing that we've always had in Latin America is we have a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent. There's always been a lack of capital, which is obviously opportunity for the venture capital, the VCs participating in this call, and other investors in China. And then also another important player got involved about, they raised their fund in Latin America 3 years ago, which is SoftBank. SoftBank has committed $5 billion to invest in venture capital in Latin America. And so what industries have gained this interest, raised this amount of capital? The big industries that have been the most attractive for investors have been fintech, or financial technology, logistics and distribution, and property tech, or technology for real estate. And looking at the companies, and just looking at a couple of the companies that raised quite a bit of capital last year in 2019 was Rappi, which is a logistics distribution company. I don't know if you've heard of it. They're a couple of entrepreneurs from Colombia, and they're a competition for Uber Eats, which obviously Uber based out of the US and have Uber Eats here in Latin America, but you see Rappi and Uber Eats going kind of hand in hand at the competition, which is showing. And there's another Chilean startup called Corner Shop, which was actually acquired by Uber toward the beginning of this year. And so it's just showing that the LATAM entrepreneurs, they're able to defend off and beat the international opportunities as well. And then, obviously Uber decides to acquire Corner Shop because Corner Shop was such a good company, provides such a good service. And so also in 2019, there was a record high in venture funds raised as well. There was at least an amount of capital raised. There's $1 billion in venture invested in new venture funds, which was 28 funds. So in my experience, in summary there, I think what's happened since I've been there, since I moved to the region in 2013, the fund sizes have grown bigger. I think when I was entering the industry, the average fund was probably around $25 to $50 million. Now we have quite a bit bigger funds, larger funds from $100 million to $350 million. There's starting to be some funds focused on certain industries, as Adrian was mentioned. There are some like ag tech funds now. There's some funds focused on logistics, distribution, mobility. Some funds focused on only fintech, but financial technology. As when I was arriving, everybody was generalists in the industry. As like when the funds I'm managing now, we have a focus on B2B industrial tech, focusing on impact as well. So now you start to see some funds have a little bit more focus on industries, not be such generalists. And also the typical thing that, everybody measures the venture capital industry on unicorns and now in the region there's 15 of those. And obviously 15 they're private. A number of companies have gone public, so they won't be counted in this group, such as Mercado Libre and others. And then just on, so that's overall region. When you drill into the Pacific Alliance, of the $4.6 billion that was invested in venture capital last year, 1.8 billion of that came from the 4 countries that we're talking about, with Colombia leading the way. And why is Colombia leading the way? Because we go back to Rappi, which is a large unicorn that have raised quite a bit of capital from SoftBank and other investors. And then the red that I'm working on with Adrian and the other investors that have it within our network. So we focus on cross-border deals. We focus on creating opportunities, creating confidence within the networks, so people have the confidence to invest in. So if we have a company based out of Santiago, Chile, that wants to grow and scale into Mexico City, we create relationships with other investors. Hopefully they'll invest in that scaling opportunity. So far, we've been able to do that 13 times, and we've done that with $15 million of investments in these cross-border deals. But that's the essence of what we try to do. We try to create confidence within the networks to try to help our portfolio companies and also our investors create confidence in investing, co-investing together with investors in different countries. Because it's the back to the point of in the presentation of Adrian, that what's all important to us, I think a number of you guys on this call are venture capitalists, is the size of the market. And the market size in Chile is very small. Something I knew when I moved from Silicon Valley to Chile is very important. That's the reason I'm in this network, is because I had to find big markets. I couldn't, the role of a venture capitalist could not exist only in Chile or even only in Chile, Peru. I had to think about, okay, how do we get access to larger markets? How do we get access to all of Latin America? How do I create opportunities for connect with China or the US or Europe? So we're constantly the venture capitalists. When you're in a small market, some of you guys are based in China where you don't have market challenges at all, because in your market alone, you have huge amounts of customer base. So there's not that challenge. But coming from a small market, like Israel or from Chile, we're constantly looking at bigger markets. So the Pacific Alliance is a big, important factor for us when we're investing in companies, having companies access to these larger markets. So Adrian, I'll leave it there, and I'll let Marcos take it from here.
Thank you, Jamie. Great, super. Then we would like to know after that, after we finish with the round, if we can talk about opportunities with that can be accomplished with China, right? So now I want to introduce to Marcos. Marcos, are you there? Marcos is the head of the network of business accelerators in the Pacific Alliance. Give us some insight on how our business accelerators and incubators doing in Latin America, specifically in the 4 countries. Give us some insights. How can we leverage this partnership with China? Also would be interesting to know. Marcos? Marcos?
Hello. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Marco Rivas. I am a president of AceleradorAP. AceleradorAP is a network, accelerated network of Pacific Alliance. The role of AceleradorAP of Pacific Alliance is to articulate the business accelerator and incubator with the purpose of facilitating the commercial scaling of startups that are members of AceleradorAP. Today, we are a group of 25 accelerators from Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru. I apologize for how brief my story will be, but I need exit to the call.
Marcos, are you still there or you exited already? Marcos? Oh, I think he left the call, or
Yeah, I think his connection was suddenly cut. He said he was going to talk about his story, no?
not sure. Okay. In any case, Marcos is heads the accelerators and incubator network of the 4 countries. There are 25 accelerators from the 4 countries that belong to this network. And what they do is facilitate for entrepreneurs to do cross-border development of their companies. So Chilean company wants to get established in Colombia. Through this network, they easily soft land in the Colombian market, which is something that I think very interesting for this relationship with China, in terms of a Chinese entrepreneur that wants to come to Latin America, or vice versa, can actually come to any of the 4 countries, and he will automatically have the ability to get established in the other country, just because through the network they can just network themselves where the opportunity is best. Many of the entrepreneurs are always looking to Mexico, because Mexico is a good trampoline for the US market. So one thing that can be done is go to Mexico, and from Mexico go south to Colombia, Chile, and Peru in order to develop their businesses. So that's so much for AceleradorAP. Patty, can you tell us a little bit about how TransferenciaP, the tech transfer network, is developing, and what are the activities they are doing? The idea of TransferenciaP is to actually facilitate the transfer of technologies between the 4 countries. Can you give us a little bit talk to us about that?
Sure. I'm sharing also my screen. I have some slides. Please let me know if you see my screen.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Thank you. Red TransferenciaP is a network of the 4 countries in Pacific Alliance, and represents, we are conformed by 4 networks. Red OTT México in Mexico, Red de Gestores Tecnológicos o Managers of Technologies in Chile, Red de Transferencia in Peru o Transferencia in Peru, and Red Join in Colombia. So the idea is of this network is to strengthen and coordinate the 4 networks to in order to adopt capabilities, integrate and expanding regional development. But we are in the first stage of the pipeline, in the knowledge generation, and also how to convert this knowledge in intellectual property strategies, not only in the countries, in the 4 countries, and also globally. So the IP strategy is one of the pillars, but also how to convert these intellectual properties outputs in products and innovation products, and also in technology-based startups. So this is some of the currently members in TransferenciaP, that is represented by these 4 networks, and also the innovation agencies. And what is the main challenges we have as a network? Okay, the first one is the financing. So we need to push the projects because we have limited resources, and the idea is how to connect and create programs to continue with developments that we identified in the portfolio of the universities we have. The second one is development partnerships, not only technology partnerships, also commercial partners. And the projects we support creating this kind of connections and projects to continue the development of these projects jointly with the industry. Also, the third one is trying to find partners and collaborators to implement the projects and create the MVPs or minimum viable products, and identify early adopters to implement and development these products in the with the early adopter, and trying to find partnerships and collaborators. And the fourth one is trying to create market access to the market, as you have explained it, but it's very, very important. So in these four challenges, we are focused. So one of the programs that we would like to share with you is a company builder TransferenciaP, supported by this network and also David. This company builder TransferenciaP is a challenge with 7 weeks, and we identify more than almost 200 projects in these countries. As you can see there, more than 500 people working in different countries. You can see the statistics there. And more than 200 professors, teachers, trainers that support this with international expertise in business, in methodologies, in technologies. What kind of support we made with this? Okay, we work with this more than almost 200 projects, but at the end, we conclude with 50 projects. And these 50 projects, 5 of them were presented last week in the innovation pitches, the pitches that we organized with LATAM-CHINA. Our idea is we prepare these pitches, these projects, and we identify the level of technology readiness level, the business readiness level, also the investment readiness level that each project has. And in order to, the idea is how to connect with China through our office in China, and also with other programs. At this moment, we signed a cooperation program with ChileGlobal, that this is another hub that is in Boston. And the idea is to connect 12 projects with USA. So all the outputs that we expect of this training is prepare these projects with some kind of training, and then connected with China with Boston through ChileGlobal in order to scale up to another markets. This is another program that we have. This is a challenge in COVID-19. We identify more than 400 projects. There are not only startups, also there is technology development in universities, and you can see the statistics per country. The most important is generate pipeline of projects and identify them in the different levels of matures as a technology readiness level in order to generate programs to support it and move forward each one, because each project has their own roadmap to connect with the specific market. This is not I think this is not rocket science, it's an art science, because it's an art to make a program for each project, and try to connect and develop a specific program for each of them. So this is an example, because we identified almost 400 projects, but at the end, only 8 projects, 2 per country, was supported by the Inter-American Development Bank, also through our networks, with a specific seed fund. This seed fund is to create a roadmap. We create a roadmap to generate and scale up these projects to the next step or the next stage of the technology readiness level. So they receive different, this is an example. This is one of the projects that was presented last week in the LATAM-CHINA Innovation Day. This project received 7,000 US dollars. It's a small seed fund, but Inversionistas AP, also AceleradorAP and TransferenciaP is working to connect these projects with other potential allies in China, in this case, and also in USA through Chile Más, to get more funds for these projects. Our idea is begin with these kind of examples and try to connect and access the market not only in Mexico, Chile, Peru, and Colombia, also scale up and connect with China and also with USA through our partners. This is another project. And finally, let me show you some of the projects. Like Oyan also was presented last week. And finally, I would like when we begin my participation, talk about to create not only support or identify pipeline, also to create trainings to develop people. So we create this training diploma in management and technology transfer. This diploma begins 1 month ago with 13 online workshops, more than 16 international instructors, 44 participants, 11 per country. And these online trainings are in different topics in scouting and intellectual property strategies globally, also how to develop the business models and scale up in the technology readiness level and also in the business readiness level of the technology. The other models or training is about negotiation and licensing, some strategies. There are 3 models focusing that. And finally, in the management and following of the projects, is all this diploma is compliant by ITESM. These professionals of technology transfer offices will be certified by and accredited by the competencies by the Bitcoin micro-credentials by ITESM. And also we have as a recognition as a professional TransferenciaP technologies evaluators in order to create this ecosystem. As our panel said, we need to develop an ecosystem. In order to develop and create the ecosystem, we need professionals that support all these processes, identifying good projects, also supporting researchers, universities to connect it and developing business cases. And the only way is to create these kinds of diplomas and training. And this is one of the examples we are promoting as a network. That's all. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Patty. Very, very good explanation of everything that's being done in the network. So I want to pose a question to the 2 of you. Is and maybe you can give me some insight, Jamie and Patty, on how do you see leveraging all this that has been done that's being done in the 4 countries of the Pacific Alliance and in general in Latin America to promote business opportunities, innovation opportunities with China? Can you give me some insight on how do you see this happening, and how do you see leveraging everything that's been done with the Chinese and back and forth, let's say, in order to actually promote joint ventures and joint innovation projects within the Pacific Alliance and China?
Yeah. Adrian, Patty, is it okay if I go?
No, you first. You first.
Okay. I was thinking about it when Adrian was talking about earlier. I think one thing that Latin America has abundance of is talent. There's a lot of human capital in Latin America, a lot of great human capital, and it's underfunded. You saw when Patty was presenting those numbers, we had some invest in venture capital in Latin America. We're back on. They didn't like that last answer. And then the other part, I think there's some similarities. A lot, I think when entrepreneurs and the ecosystem how it's developing in Latin America, and entrepreneurs are developing solutions, I think are more because you look at China, you look at some of the other emerging markets. So the technology and innovation that's happening in Latin America is more suited, I think, for transference from Mexico, Chile, or Colombia to Asia, to China, or maybe some other South Asian countries. So I think that similarities is more similar than, I would say, example, than taking a startup from Chile to the US or to Europe. The markets are more similar, I think. And one example I use is like mega cities, huge, large cities like Mexico City, for example. You're looking at a city, depends on who counts, you're talking about 22 million people. So you have companies, innovation, distribution, logistics companies developing technology for these mega cities. Where do you have mega cities? Obviously, you have mega cities in China as well. So I think those types of opportunities make a lot of sense to look at similarities, synergies that could be. Another similarity or another opportunity I would say too is in agriculture. In Latin America, there's a lot of opportunity in agriculture and doing a smart agriculture. We've invested in a number of companies in smart agriculture as well. And obviously, China has a big challenge to feed its population. So there's always ways of looking for the smart technology in agriculture and creating the next generation of food technologies. And so those are just a couple ideas I was thinking about when Adrian first mentioned the point is that, one, there's a lot of talent and it's underfunded in Latin America. So if you're an investor in China, you're looking for talent, you're looking to invest capital, there's plenty of opportunities. And then there's similar markets. If it's smart cities, logistics, is it agriculture? I think there's some similarities, some opportunities that come from being similar emerging markets versus being in Europe or the US per se. So that's how I kind of see some opportunities.
One of the things that it strikes us when we look at the numbers is that even though, as Jamie points out very well, that there is a lot of talent in the region, there are very good engineering schools like the Tec of Monterrey and universities in many of the countries, we have a very big gap in terms of technology transfer. Even though we have the science, even though we have the scientists, we have good business people, etc. We have a big problem to transfer all the science and all the developments in technologies that we're doing in our countries into commercial opportunities and business opportunities. So I want to ask you, Patty, what do you think about how can we leverage what the Chinese have done so far in terms of tech transfer, where they have developed themselves very well, and how can we use their capacity and use their institutions in order to help Latin America actually do tech transfer, and vice versa? How can the Chinese scientists, Chinese innovators, Chinese developers actually leverage what they have done and in Latin America? Leave it to you.
Thank you for the question. I think it's very, very important, the question, and the answer is this is because the Innovation Hub Tec-China was created, and the pillars of the Innovation Hub Tec-China are the talent. I think that one of the public policies in China and also in our countries is to develop human resources, talent. And the Innovation Hub Tec-China that tried to connect the best of the talents in Mexico and LATAM and also China. And these connections happens between the universities, between the researchers, between the students. And the first is to identify good talents, also good projects, and identify the potential researchers, partners in China as a universities, laboratories, research centers, and the government in China, and also the governments in Latin America, the Inter-American Development Bank, for example. These agencies, innovation agencies that support these connections, could create specific programs to integrate teams, in order to create and connect both ecosystems. I think one of the most, one of the challenges in order to reduce this gap is integrate a good teams, a very high competitive skills teams. And China understood that what's the way, because the China understood that and make policies to attract high level talent. So in our idea, our hub, identify high level talent in universities, in entrepreneurs, and the art is connect this high level talent with high level talent in China, in order to create these projects and reduce the gap. I think is one of the pillars, connect the talents and make competitive teams to develop these projects. And these projects could be financed if we create around the projects a good business model with a very big, imagine that, with the market in China and also the market, as you explained us, Adrian, very well, we as a Pacific Alliance represent the 8th economy in the world. Imagine China and a Pacific Alliance, these two big markets. So if we have the projects, the talent, and the market, and the professionals to develop the business model for these two markets, this is the way to connect ecosystems and develop the countries or the regions. So we are convinced that this is the way. The only way is cooperate and connect this.
Great, very good. And if we connect what you're saying, Patty, with the fact that that there are many investment opportunities, as Jamie has pointed out, so smart investments or smart investment venture funds from China into Latin America, I think it would be very good for both parties, for the Chinese to tap into opportunities, as Jamie just pointed out, in the agro industry and many other industries, and on the other hand, for entrepreneurs and innovators to tap into the Chinese market. I think there's a lot of things that can be done together, and as I talk and as I listen to you guys, I get more and more excited. So where do we start? Can you both give me an idea? Where do we start with this in order to accelerate the pace of development for our two regions, for China and for the Pacific Alliance?
Okay,
Yes,
I may.
think Alfonso, it's time maybe you can talk about how we can start, and also give the opportunity to the Chinese partners that are already connected if they have some questions. and ideas, and how can we begin and start with that?
Perfect.
Actually,
so I will return the word to Alfonso, so you can coordinate answering the questions, and of course we would like to absolutely listen to our Chinese counterparts here in order to know what they think also about what we've been talking about.
okay, so you may have noticed some people dropped from the talk, but we are broadcasting through the 88 account. So actually, a lot of people are listening through the mobile. And yes, they have a lot of questions that they have been listening to you. Most of the people who are listening right now are from our VCs or entrepreneurs that like to invest in technology. So I would like to give you an idea that here in Zhejiang province, there are several clubs of investors that together have more than 6 billion with a B, dollars, which are in several funds that are have been traditionally, they used to invest more in real estate or construction, but in the past 4 or 5 years, this has shifted a lot to technology-based companies. The first technology-based companies they supported were apps, e-commerce, and logistics, just like the ones you were mentioning just now, Mr.
Jamie.
Jamie, he mentioned this kind of investments there in Latin America, but they have shifted. I mean, they have gone on to new technologies like biotech. We are in a region where biotech is very important. The main is e-commerce because we are the home of Alibaba, but biotech is also a very important industry here. So it was a traditional industry with like traditional Chinese medicine, but the government took that and made a lot of new industrial parks based on new medicine, medical devices, and biotech. So this is one of the areas of interest. Now, as I said, many of the friends listening are investors. So these are going to be questions about finance for projects. So here goes. And they know that Mr. Adrian comes from the BID. So this question is for him. Are there mechanisms in the BID to do or to support joint investment with foreign entities? And are there any mechanisms that give some special privilege to technology?
Okay, so thank you, Alfonso, for your question, and thank you for the investors that have been asking these questions. So the IDB is a development bank that mainly focuses on giving loans to governments in order to promote certain development initiatives. In the case of innovation, they would give loans to governments in order to establish innovation policies or innovation programs to help entrepreneurs or to help investors through governments do what they want to do. Now, within the bank, there is an area that's called IDB Labs, which is the area that actually intervenes in the private sector. So the bank, yes, it has a whole program of venture capital, and in fact, the bank has a chair from China. China is an investor in the bank. So through the chair in the bank, it's very easy for a Chinese company or a Chinese investor or a Chinese venture capital to get in touch with IDB Labs. That's something that can be done, and IDB Labs will invest in cooperation with international venture capitals in order to invest in companies in the region. So the quick question is yes, not through the bank, but through this private sector of the bank. And to do that, it should be easy for a Chinese venture capital fund to do it through the share that the bank has from China, as China is one of the members of the bank.
Okay, I just got like 10 questions at the same time. if we can get more information about this IDB Labs.
Yes, I can absolutely send you information about that, and you can distribute to everyone that it's. Let me write it down here so I don't forget. So it's we'll get you information about IDB Labs.
Okay.
And, yeah, absolutely.
Another question which is related to this is, let me go by topic. What is the percentage? What has been the growth of investment of private VCs in technology in the region? They heard that you're starting to invest in fintech, logistics, and real estate related. But they want to know two things: what has been the growth rate, and if there have been any other topics like in special biotech.
Yeah, we're going to the biotech. I'm looking at some numbers of a study here for the Latin American market, and it says last year, 2019, 10% of all, a little less than 10% of all deals were in the biotech, health tech space. So that was that record. That's about 32 deals. So that space from 2018 to 2019 grew by 52%. Grew by 52% from 2018 to 2019. My estimation, I don't have any numbers from halfway through the year of 2020, but my guess in number of deals, it's only as a percentage of market is growing because of COVID. It's logical that people are investing more in biotech and health tech just because of COVID. So we all know that's going to be a growing trend that's going to continue. The other point is that the venture capital industry, for example, in 2016 was 500 million. 2017 was 1.1 million, so it did a double. Then 2018 was 2 billion, then another double. And then last year was 4.6 billion, so it did another double. So every year over the last 4 years is doubled. It's grown 100% more or less. So the market is growing. I don't know if we'll grow a double this year because of COVID, but the market's growing. Biotech is a popular spot, especially in Chile. Chile is known to have very strong biotech entrepreneurs. And the last point that I asked to you, Alfonso, just so they know that another opportunity, 70% of all VC deals in Latin America were co-invested with the international VC, with a local VC. 70% of all deals done in VC dollars was co-invested with an international VC, with a local VC. So the local VCs are very open to co-investing. I'll stop there for your next question.
Okay, that's that was actually the next question that they sent me. Yes?
Alfonso, if I may just say one word to complement what Jamie was just saying.
Yes.
One of the reasons, I guess, that that venture capital has been doubling year by year is because ecosystems have been developing. So countries have been very, very active. Colombia, Peru, and Mexico, Chile also very much, have been very active in developing the local ecosystems. There is, if we go back 7-8 years ago, I mean, no one knew about this. No one knew about what innovation was. No one knew about entrepreneurship. There were no programs at universities to train people in innovation or entrepreneurship. So this has been developing. It takes a long time. It has taken a decade. But the fact that venture capitals are doubling each year is not because there is more money available, but I think venture capitals are finding better deals than they used to. They're better deals. They're better entrepreneurs. They're better teams. There's better support from institutions. So that's something that it's much more than just the money that's available. It has to do with opportunities that are available. So that's something that for China may be very interesting to know, that if they come here, as Jamie was pointing out, there's going to be talents, but not only talents, there's going to be support, ecosystem support for those investors that come over.
Yes, definitely. Now, what related to this topic and what Mr. Cao from Zhejiang University IPX, he's just saying now, he agrees with Patty what she just said about China needing more talents. Actually, he says the Chinese government has grants to attract high-level talents. This is an issue because I think both sides would like to keep the investment within their borders. So, for example, China, as Mr. Cao says, has a lot of policies for attracting people. And they have been doing a lot of investment here to create science parks, technology parks, so that they can actually offer the infrastructure for researchers to come and do their work here. Also, there's some difficulty in moving big amounts of money outside of China. So as they say, this is one thing to be taken into account, because mostly what we the work we do here, mostly it involves bringing the people here. We have met a couple of VCs that have created funds outside of China. For example, there's a VC in Shanghai, Longli, which will be joining us tomorrow. They have $100 million fund in the U.S. from which they can invest within the U.S. or other countries. But these are not common. So mostly they're saying when we want to do cooperation with this kind of technology, it's important that the countries in the region know that China would like to invite the researchers to develop their work here.
And I think Alfonso trying to connect with this initiative and connecting with the actions that Adrian invited us to think. One of the ideas is not only to connect talent, also is to connect investors and funds. These kinds, for example, Jamie is here. He leads more than 25 investors as a president of Inversionistas AP. He knows the investors, and he explained us that the most important is to create confidence, no? To invest. And also, I think one of the challenge we have is to connect not only talent, is to connect this kind of funds, to create these funds like a lonely that this investor in USA, and why not to create one to invest in Pacific Alliance as a big market. This is the idea. This is the idea of the hub, and how we can do that. I think that the only way to do is connect. Then we need to introduce each other, create this confidence in order to explore this possibility, because our idea is not only to access or get access to China and develop the Chinese country. Also, our idea is Chinese, the IP region, so in both ways. So yes. How we can do that? Connect talents, develop first startups, not only in China, also the startups must to be created in the region. Connect both the startups, the companies, and also create a joint development programs, a joint finances programs with the strategies. And this is the idea, to connect and create ecosystems and connect both ecosystems. I think, in my opinion, in my idea, in my dreams, but I think this is the way.
Yes, very true. Actually, there's another question, because the people who are seeing us right now, they know us for 2 or 3 years already, some of them even more, but they have seen what we have done, and most of what we've done is bring the projects here and use or discuss at least 3 business options. One is creating a joint venture. One is giving a service, like just make one service and charge for it. And number 3 is giving a license for using of technology. So they know that we have promoted these 3 ways, and we are from Mexico. They want to know, because we are talking about the region. They want to know if that would hold for all the region, or if there are some preferred mechanisms among these 3. That is the more or less the question. With that,
That's a question for Patti.
I don't know if it's for me or for the Inter-America. Could you repeat, because it's.
So if there is a preferred, your question is if there is a preferred relationship style or preferred relationship way for between the Chinese and between China and the countries in the region?
Yes, what we have done is promote these 3 ways of collaboration. One is joint venture, one is license, and one is just charged for a service. That they told me, we know that that's what you do in Mexico, but because we are talking about the region, the question is, does this hold true for the whole region, or is there any special mechanism that they would prefer?
I think for taking the words that Jamie was pointing out, I think, and what Patti was saying, I think I envision a venture capital, a smart money type of venture capital in the region to invest in regional startups or companies, just as the one in the US. So this venture capital fund would invest in opportunities that can scale locally in the region, but also might be also opportunities for these companies to scale in China. And if it's smart money, meaning that not only is an investment, but also they help entrepreneurs access the Chinese market, or they help with technologies, Chinese technologies, or with know-how, that would be fantastic. And I think, according to what Jamie said, is that we have the talent, we need the investments, and we need the smart capital behind it. So I think that could be a really good starting point.
Well, Adrian, I'll just add to one point. Can I ask one point? I'm looking here. Sorry. Excuse me. I see there has been one Chinese investor active in Latin America. No voice. So I just want to mention that Tencent is active in the region. You guys are probably aware of that, but Tencent, a Chinese company, as everybody's aware of, is active in the region, investing into Latin American startups.
What's the name?
Tencent.
Tencent is like the biggest thing. Alibaba and Tencent are the 2 biggest tech companies here.
Okay, they have a venture capital fund in Latin America?
No, Tencent is the most active, was about a year or 2 ago, they were the most active corporate venture capital group in the world. Tencent did more deals in corporate venture capital than Google and every other company in the world. So they've invested in Latin American startups. So my point is, if Tencent was able to do it, then maybe if there's interest from the Chinese investors on this call, there's a way to do it since it's doing it already.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, in Chile, actually in Chile, there are government mechanisms to leverage on investments. So they're very good. I mean, they work. I think they work very good. Peru is launching their own system where they are it's going to be government leveraged venture capitals, and that's something that's starting to happen all over. So there are good opportunities to actually tap into programs that governments have to accelerate or to help investors. So that's something that we can also help investors that come from China to be able to know and to access those programs.
Okay, there's a very related question to that, and this is crucial, and we have seen it a lot of times already in our experience here. The question is, what would be needed from China, from Chinese VCs? Because a little background. Chinese government has grants, and they can invest in projects which are early stage, but usually they ask to be a one-on-one investment. So, for example, if they give you $100, they will ask you to put also $100. This is a very common practice. Now, VCs moving to private capital. The question is, what would be needed from a VC in China? What kind of document or what kind of promise would be needed for VCs in Latin America to invest in the early stage? So just the example they give me is, let's suppose that you have an early stage project in Latin America and it needs $100,000 to become pre-commercial. That's a very small amount. What would many VCs in China, they look for pre-commercial or scale up level. It's harder to look for angel investors. So what mechanism could be done? For example, maybe the VCs is interested in the project, but they want the project to be just a little bit further ahead. So what would you need in Latin America to get that money? For example, an MOU from the Chinese VC, or some letter of intention of some sort. What could be done for both parties to cooperate in this?
I think if I'll take this, maybe they have a better answer, but it sounds like what you're trying to say is that the Chinese VC doesn't want to invest in the early C stage or angel stage. They want to go into like a C plus, or let's just call it Series A level. So when the rounds start getting, depends on the region, $5, $10 million region. So I think that the key there is kind of what Adrian was talking about earlier, is to reach out to us, to establish a relationship with us, to me, to my network. So, and let us know what type of industries they're looking for. You're looking for biotech, you're looking for ag tech, you're looking for what are the industries that they're concerned in. And then within their network, we can say, okay, when companies get to that level, we can contact the Chinese investor and open the opportunity. The mechanism to invest in the companies is it's pretty international standards. We do at very early stage, we do convertible notes, and once the company gets to Series A, it's usually equity. So then, the investor has to, invest in capital and equity and whatever currency, could be dollars or whatever currency it may be. But that is, I don't know how much more you want detail there, but I think that the main challenge is creating the opportunities, was creating relationships with us. I don't know anything about how the Chinese VCs have to do about the mechanism for getting the money out of China into Latin America. That I don't know. I'm not familiar on how a Chinese investor will have to take their money out of China to get into Latin America. But if that part is established, then the other part is pretty much international documents. Is pretty standard. I mean, Latin America is really taking the experience from Silicon Valley and doing documents of investments and valuations and things of that nature. Just the benefit they have in Latin America is the valuations are cheaper today.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they're also telling me right now that there's also VCs that would like to take money. There are more and more VCs that want to take their money out of China and invest in Latin America, but they have to be still. They're not looking for angel investment, but there has to be a risk assessment done, and they will usually ask for joint. I mean, they can invest more, but as long as the local investor puts a little bit of the
Alfonso, one of the things is very interesting to know that in Chile, that's where I know best. And Jamie, you correct me if I'm wrong, but in Chile there are plenty of seed capital funds. There are plenty of seed capital funds. The problem is that many of these companies are not able to scale. So what happens is that if they're not able to scale, then it doesn't justify a Series A after that. But if they're able to scale, let's say they're able to scale in the Chinese market, or they're able to scale in the US markets, then the scaling process needs a lot of capital. And at that point, the Chinese venture capital can step in.
Exactly.
And that's what's going to happen. You're going to find a lot of ventures that are being funded in the less than $1 million range, in Chile at least, in many countries in Latin America, and then they are stuck. They become SMEs because they're not able to scale actually. And if they are able to scale, those become very good opportunities for investors in Series A's and on.
Yes, exactly.
So that I think that's where the opportunity is.
Yes, that's both for venture capitals and also companies. They are very keen on investing on that scaling up, because for them that's their specialty, scaling up stuff and taking advantage of the big Chinese market. For example, we have been showing recently some medical devices, and the ones that they have seen, which are, the prototype is ready. They have lab tests, or they are even selling 2 or 3 already. They like that very much because they said, okay, it's already there, so we can just put the money to scale up. So that's a very interesting part where they can fit. So, but the worry is that can you just answer the question? But the worry was that can we find the local money to just do that early stage?
It's already happening. Como Adrian said, it's already happening in Chile, in Colombia, in Mexico. There's quite a bit of early stage funds. In Chile today, I want to say it's around 34 or 35 early stage funds. And what's happening, which is interesting, what the Chinese should be looking at, exactly what Andreessen Horowitz is doing, exactly what Sequoia is doing. They're coming and taking advantage because there's not a lot of growth capital in the region. And it's the same reason SoftBank signed up a $5 billion fund to focus on Latin America, because they saw the gap in the market. They see that the venture capital community in Latin America is strong, or is becoming stronger in the early stage, in the C stage, the same topic that your Chinese investors are talking about. But the growth stage, there's a lack of capital still. And that's why the US, SoftBank, and these other funds are coming into the market, trying to get into the spot. The only guys from China do it so far is Tencent. Maybe there's somebody else doing it as well, I don't know of. But there's a great opportunity for the Chinese investors to take advantage of that.
Yes.
And the other important thing to complement what Jamie's saying is that there is the knowledge to do it. It's not only that they bring the money, but there are venture capital managers and venture capitals, they're GPs that are knowledgeable, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to leverage their fund with government funds. They know their business. So
yes.
Chinese venture capital funds can partner with venture capitals in the region that know what they're doing.
Okay. Actually, what I'm seeing right now are some requests for, and Patty, you were telling me just this morning that it would be very profitable that we start making direct connections between you guys in the region and the venture capitals without me being in between, adding noise to the conversation. So I'm actually being asked about this. If we can have later, we can have some introductions and direct conversations between you two.
Yes, this is the opportunity. I think this morning I talked with Alfonso. We have almost 1 year operating in China, and we have a very good relationship with the Zhejiang government, also with the universities. The next steps in this year is to connect with the VC funds in China and make this connection, generate this trust, confidence, and also introduce with other VCs in LATAM, as Jamie and others, and try to create these programs and at the end these funds to support these startups.
I think that this would be very interesting because right now, myself and the hub, our expertise is a very focused one. We have no expertise whatsoever in what you guys are talking about, which is the local funds. I have no idea. So getting you to talk directly to the Chinese funds, that would be much better than me being in between.
Are you talking to me, Alfonso, or are you talking to Patty or Adrian? Okay.
Not to everybody.
Okay.
You're never going to be noise, Alfonso.
I'm sorry?
You're never going to be noise.
Oh.
Yes,
So don't consider yourself noise.
We are kind of cultural translators, but in this kind of relation, it's always much better for both experts to be in direct communication.
Yes.
Yes, I think that this in order to close the panel because the hour, I know in Chile I think it's 2 hours. I don't know what time is it in Chile, and in Washington is 1 hour.
It's 2 hours. It'll be 11. It's good because 11, yeah.
Okay, so we need to close, but I think I will let to maybe some conclusions, Adrian. The last things do you?
Well, more than conclusions, I think this is an invitation. You guys have been on the road for a year now, almost a year. So Alfonso and Patty, you know pretty much what's going on in the Chinese market. And we know what's going on, and also you guys know what's going on in Latin America. Now it's time to start leveraging each other and seeing and working together to actually close businesses and close deals. So this is more than closing of the activity, is opening an invitation for the Chinese people to get close to us and for us to get close to them and start doing what should be done, and to develop our countries through venturing and through innovation. So it's an invitation. Thank you so much.
Jamie?
No, just thanks for the opportunity to present, to speak to all you. I wish I was talking to you in person. I love to meet you people, and I've been to your country before, and I enjoyed myself thoroughly when I was in Beijing. But it's open invitation. Patty, Alfonso, if you want to pass my contact, anybody interested in talking more about venture capital in Latin America, I'm open to having that conversation. Please feel free to share my, and like Adrian is saying, just want to echo his invitation to see things we can co-invest together. I think there's a lot of things that we could do in win-win scenarios.
Okay.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is only the beginning. The idea of this Innovation LATAM Day is the first connection. Our commitment as and Alfonso and me also is following these relationships and try to create these programs, cooperation, international cooperation programs to the hub and also to the TransferenciaAP, that this is the network that get the pipeline from the different universities and countries in the region. So thank you so much, Adrian, Jamie, for this conference. I think was very important for us. Alfonso, I don't know if you want to say something to.
Well, I just want to thank you all for your time, and I want to close with this little thought. Science and knowledge have no borders. I think that people who invest smartly also should have no borders. And this kind of cooperation can be done. We have done it, and I think it's important for us to keep pushing it. We have done it in a very small scale just now, but we are only 1 year into this venture. But we have shown it can be done. So let's push for more.
Super.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice words. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, muchas gracias
Bye.
a todos los que estuvieron conectados por YouTube. Bueno, pues ahí seguimos promoviendo. Muchas gracias.
Ándale, nos vemos mañana.
Ok, thank you. Nos vemos mañana.
Bye.
Sí, bye.